This is a special Halloween edition of Pod with Me. The pod has had some pretty eerie, spooky moments, and we're going to recap some of those. Stories from Alexis Reyes to the paranormal to what happens when we die. Yes, we're recapping some of our best episodes that have a lot to do with Halloween. Get ready, because this Pod-O-ween episode starts now.
Brother Alex, are you ready to pod? Hey, are you all ready to talk? Alex J, I hear.
Are you ready? Let's go.
Let's get a sound check.
What's your most memorable encounter?
My most memorable encounter. It would probably have to be. I've had two. When my dad passed away, there was this. I wasn't able to go to the funeral, so there was this woman there, and she was black. I'll never forget it, and heavy-set woman. And I remember this woman came to me and told me, you can come in and you can see him now. I know he's your father because you have his eyes. And I asked her, who was she? And she told me she was the embalmer.
She worked there in the funeral.
At the time, she told me she worked there. She was black. She spoke only English, and she was a heavy-set black woman. So I went ahead and I saw my father, being buried in front of me because everyone had left. I wasn't able to go to the funeral for reasons I don't want to get into now, but it was something that was a family kind of thing.
Got it.
And I saw him. Years later, this came into my mind. And I went back and I asked for my father's records. Well, my father wasn't embalmed by a woman. He was embalmed by a man.
Wow. Yep. So the lady that came up to you might have not been a real...
no, she wasn't. She couldn't have been. There was no way, because when I went to them, I went personally. He was embalmed at Bernardo Garcia on 40th, and I went there, and they gave me his records, and he was actually embalmed by a man. And the guy told me that they have never had a woman that's been an embalmer.
So her message, what do you think her message was when she came to you?
I think that her message, it wasn't a message. I just think she was allowing me to see my father in his last.
Like you should go. You never saw her again.
But I keep on seeing this black woman sometimes, and it doesn't look like her. It's just...
it's her, but it's like...
It's like another form.
And see the same number, like 1111, again and again. It's really important to understand that there are very few possibilities, extremely rare to be exact, to keep on noticing these same repeating numbers over and over again. When this happens, our cells and our astral bodies are synchronized with the universe. We channel very important messages for us and our loved ones, messages we cannot receive in any other way. It's not a coincidence that you are seeing these numbers. I'm about to tell you what each of these numbers mean every time you see them over and over again. When you see 11, 11, 11, then you just received a very important awakening from the universe and the forces above. So when you see these numbers, stay alert for the next 48 hours, as you're probably about to experience a karmic event. The number 11 also represents your intuition. When you see this, it encourages you to keep following your spirit. It's telling you that you're in the right path. And if you see this number, listen to your gut and your heart. Someone that grew up in a dysfunctional family, and guys, bear with us with the story. It's pretty difficult to listen to because you can tell the anger and hate he has within while he's telling the story. And but that's when he's thinking about growing up and everything he felt. He's come out of it, and this is a story of survival from a dysfunctional family. What was the first signs that you started seeing that this is not right?
First sign was I realized my brother decided to microwave a pizza at 8 o'clock and my mom flipped out. She said it was quiet hours and all this, and it wasn't even that. First time I'm like, okay, moms don't do this. She would always tell me and my brother that this isn't a hotel. Most parents, they welcome their children back home, or like, the food in the closet's yours. It wasn't like that. It was more like, oh, you ate it all, replace it. It wasn't like that.
So you had to pay for anything that you would eat at the house?
Once we got to a certain age, yes.
And you had to pay rent.
Yeah, my mom never worked after she got divorced. So even till today, she spent more than 2 decades of no work. She kind of just takes advantage of the government.
Well, she doesn't have work.
She does it on purpose. She'll just kind of like finesse the system and take advantage.
And what's your relationship with at that moment in time? How was that relationship with you and your mom? And how old were you when all this started happening?
The only time I set my foot down was when I was 25, 26.
No, hold on. What was the relationship with your mom when all this was happening and that you first saw that this wasn't right? What were the things that were going on between you and her?
A parent would try and talk to their kid, right? Or try to be patient with their kid. This is an example I can come with. I'm not good at school, right? I took 4 classes. I don't even want to do school. But I just failed 1 class. And for something so critical, and I passed the other one, she'd kick me out of the house completely. I have to go on Craigslist, find a place to stay, sometimes sleep on floors.
And you had no other family members to go to when she would kick you out?
No, not at all. I mean, this is a time where, like, I'm just learning how to drive, and
You're about 16?
yeah, and like our family's just kind of scattered. It's not, we barely have any family here, and it's we're not really connected like that. So it's a very on your own type of family, unfortunately.
So the first time she kicked you out, where did you go? Tell me that experience.
Sure, I went to a trailer park. And it was like, I think it was like $450 a month or something. It was what I could afford. Literally 5 minutes away from my house. It's just in the Everglades, right? I didn't even know that place existed there. And there's like barbed wires on my window, cat piss. This lady had like 12, 11 cats.
So it wasn't a trailer for you on your own? You had to share with somebody?
No, I was just in a room destroyed by cats. And the barbed wire in the window was just absolutely crushing. Like I'm trying to keep my dream of being a content creator, and it's not like I'm doing this without any fans. I have movement, I have engagement.
You didn't have the mindset at that moment because everything you were going through as being a content creator. But I would have had so much content with living in that trailer.
I was kind of scared, to tell the truth, and this is the first time anyone's really hearing some of this stuff. My brother and like my close friends know, but like it's just something I don't like to talk about too much because I don't want people to feel sorry.
You go back home for the first time after you lived in the trailer. What was that experience like?
It's always amazing the first couple days. That she misses me, and she's caring, and then kind of dies down, and then patience starts to wear. Cycle happens all over again where it's like this toxic, like she just get really moody and be snappy. Even if you're asking, hey, how's your day? Sometimes she wouldn't answer me. I was like, okay, like very emotional. There's no emotional intelligence there, and she's very scarred from her past. So like, it would just kind of repeat. And then I have to move out, and I go on Craigslist, and I find a house across the street to live, even though my house is right. It was just ridiculous. Or sometimes I try to stay at a friend's house, but like I had to sleep in my car one time. She kicked me out at like 12. I forgot the reason. I think I forgot the trash in the trash can. Come on, you don't kick a kid out for not taking out the trash. You take away their Xbox. You don't take away their room and stuff. So I remember I had to sleep in the car one time. That was not fun. Very sweaty. I barely slept, actually. I'm never going back to that again.
All right. Of
And
course.
I lived in a retirement home too.
You lived in a and what was that like?
Horrible. I mean, every day I'd wake up and like there would be an ambulance of somebody passing away.
Signs that you are dealing with an evil person. Evil people are everywhere. When you see that they enjoy the misfortunes of others, you could be watching the news and there's a crash, or someone died, or someone got a disease, and you feel like they're enjoying what they're listening to or seeing. They have no remorse. They can care less what they did or how they make people feel. They don't care. When you let them know how you feel and aren't they sorry or whatever, they'll gaslight you and turn it all around on you. In reality, all they want to do is contain their current quality of life by controlling you. And an apology will indicate, they're not in control. They want you to see them as perfection, to keep you wrapped around their little fingers. Evil people are often victims of the prisons they built for themselves, which is why they take so much joy out of misfortunes and pain. It dulls the pain they have in their hearts. But that does not mean you're going to justify it or stick by evil people. An evil person has no sort of a moral compass. They'll do as they please and they never feel responsible for the pain they have caused others. If they sense any sort of blame coming their way, they will redirect that blame immediately. They love to shift the blame to others and have no understanding of what an apology is. And they'll probably make you apologize for their mistakes. If you're getting warnings from their family and friends, well, that's a big sign. Many times they will actually tell you bluntly that you should avoid them at all cost. So if loved ones are tipping you off that this person is evil, that's a huge sign and a blessing at the same time. Manipulators. Usually they know how to manipulate you, and oftentimes they're good to you only to get something out of you. It could be money, it could be something, but they're working on you, they're being nice, but at the end, they just want something from you. So did you think of anyone when you were listening to these signs? Be careful, they're probably evil. What happens to us when we're about to die? Those are questions that linger in our minds sometimes, right? Well, I try not to think about it too much. How did I find this topic, guys? Well, I ran into this interesting interview with Dr. Peter Finwick, who's a neuropsychiatrist and an expert in near-death experiences. He's been studying them for years.
The first thing that you may get is a premonition. And that means that you know you're going to die. So before you get the diagnosis, you learn in a dream, maybe, or it suddenly comes to you that you're going to die soon. A few weeks before you die, you get deathbed visitors. Now, what's a deathbed visitor? They are relatives who come to you, and they do it in a specific way. They may stand outside the room in which you're dying, or they may come into the room, and that's quite common. You, of course, will talk to them, and then a number of them will sit on the bed and talk to you. Why do they sit on the bed? Because it's enormously comforting to you to have somebody sitting on the bed. So it's mainly first-degree relatives. And we also found in our sample that spiritual beings were seen. Now, the spiritual beings behave slightly differently from the relatives. They tend to either wait outside the hospice, and they're seen through the window, or they may come to the door, and some of them come in. What we initially found was that you went into a different reality, a spiritual world, and then you came back again. So this was as if you were getting used to the spiritual world. So you went into it and came back, and went into it and came back. And it was very important for the people who were dying. Now that is changing. And I want to talk about Monica Rentz's theory on this. She's just recently done a dual hospice study. Now what she finds is that what we said was correct. Deathbed visitors come fine. Then at some moment you realize you're going to die, and it hits you hard. We're not coming back, guys. This isn't a getting well process, it's a dying process. And that then leaves you in a very difficult position, because you've never come across that before. You've always had some control over something, you now don't. And so you have to start giving everything up. This is absolutely fundamental. You have to give up the fact that you're going to go on living. You have to give up your wife, you have to give up your cat and your dog, you have to give up your children, your family, you have to give up your house and your job. You've got to give up everything. And if you don't, you remain attached. Now, attachment is the most difficult thing when you're dying. If you could give everything up, you'd have a very smooth transition. You go from this pre-transition, where you're attached, to transition, which is a sort of intermediate one, to post-transition. And in post-transition, you in fact have given everything up. It's just like that. Until at the end, you've lost your ego, you've lost that part of yourself which has differentiated you, and you become what's called non-dual. That means that you do in fact merge with the universe. You've already lost all your trappings of being a body and a person, and you've just got this non-duality which is merging with the greater cosmos behind. You've got many things which are much more important than that because you don't value death. Simple as that. And it's very important. Nothing strange about it. We're all going to do it, so we might learn about it.
You have to really do your research, because going to a psychic is just like going to a doctor. Some people really listen and believe in what we have to say, so how can I mislead you by lying?
I am starting to put boundaries within myself.
Yeah, but for some reason I see you somewhat feeling lonely. I said to her, but he loves you. I mean, this is what I just wanted to know, and I couldn't understand that. And she told me, you see, my son can't talk. He's never told me he loves me. Even now that she got a job, she's still negative about it. It's like she has to learn how to take the negative and make it a positive. She needs to wake up and smell the coffee. In a world where we're up and going, energy keeps on going all over the place. Particular people in general, like I've looked, because it's sad that you see these things, and especially when they're doing things that they're telling you, you know, your mother's telling you this. That's so sad, because the mother is not telling them that. And you have these people with emotions and crying and all that. I'm thinking to myself, that's not right. That's so not right. You know, if a mother's coming and telling you something, trust me, it's going to be something to protect you. It's not to tell you, hi, I love you and I miss you, by the way. You know, it doesn't work that way. If you're going to go to a psychic, do your background check, number one. That's very important. I always tell everybody, check, you know, there has to be some credentials. I mean, you look my name up and you know that I've done major cases. Like the last case I did was help find the boy from Paris that was gone missing. If in your kitchen the lights are flashing, it's your dad or your mom, and stay around there. No, your lights could be flashing because you know what? You live in a high-rise building and so many people have the electricity and it may flash. Now this is what it was. I had something to do with a TV place, and there was this gentleman that went missing, a Spanish gentleman. I'm going to say his name. His name is Jose. Mm-hmm. Everybody told me that he was in Jackson.
The singer?
Yeah, the singer.
Okay.
Everybody told me he was in Jackson, and Jackson this, and Jackson that. And I said, I don't see him in Jackson. I see him in
Jackson Hospital.
Jackson Hospital.
Okay.
I see him in Coral Gables. They went back.
Coral Gables here in
Coral
Miami.
Gables in Miami. They went back and they told me, well, Alexis, he's in Jackson. I said, I don't see him in Jackson, but if you say he's in Jackson, he's in Jackson. They came back and they told me, oh, wow, you were so right. He actually is in Coral Gables. I mean, this is what I do for a living. I'm not going to tell you that the lights are flashing. You have to really do your research, because going to a psychic is just like going to a doctor. This is the thing. Some people really listen and believe in what we have to say, so how can I mislead you by lying?
Our guest brought some video that her home security camera caught on tape. I thought maybe it could have been a prank, but no, guys, this is the real deal. And if you want to see the video, it's up on our social media sites. And the plot thickens as I get her help with psychic medium Alexis Reyes and her husband, who is a specialist in paranormal activity. We get down to the nitty-gritty on why this is happening to her.
But I pulled in the driveway of the house and I parked on the side because I was going to wash my car. And when I noticed, when I was looking through and I saw like there was something white on the table and then there wasn't, you know, that's what made me go back and look at it. I sat in the car for a good hour, just like
Digesting the whole thing.
Yeah, because you always hear about these things on TV. I'm a firm believer, and yes, I do believe there's spirits out there, good, bad. I believe in all that. But to actually see it, and I know that there's nobody at the house. I know that when it's your own home and you see this, it's like, okay, so my brothers aren't there. There's no way that anybody's playing any type of trick on me. There's nobody in the house. And so it was just like, okay, is the bag, okay, it must have just blown off. But no, it's obvious. It sat there for 9 hours. The bag that it was laying on, it doesn't budge whatsoever. And then the dark area on the ceiling, I cannot explain that. It's not there now. And that's the only time on the footage you can look back at the night before that, or even after, and there's no dark area, and nothing's been moved in the living room. I just feel like weird.
All right, Mel, we're going to need some help here. I'm going to call psychic and medium Alexis Reyes, who also finds people for the FBI. She's been on the show before. And her husband, Kike, who is a specialist for paranormal activity, is also going to join us.
It's a little stronger than the average paranormal, just so you know. When I saw the video, it's one of the most vivid videos that I've seen. Am I mistaken? I'm sorry.
No, it's very good evidence. It's right there. It's there, you know.
You do have a best friend who years ago committed suicide, correct?
Yes. It's been 2016. Yeah, he was a murder-suicide, you know.
Okay. So. Let me interrupt you then. So let me get this right. He shot his mother.
He shot a man, one of his friends, in the chest twice, and then got in his car and drove to his mother's where he lived. He had just moved back in with his mom, and he walked in with a big shotgun and he shot and killed her, and then he went to the sister's room and killed her, and then turned the gun on himself. And
that will change the whole dynamic of this. Is a much deeper case, and it's this is a little scary.
So when you feel them around you, it's just translating your mind. You seeing it from that energy, the thoughts, and putting things into your mind. So it's pretty much the energy of the spirit, depending on who he is or what he's done or all his feelings, may be transferred onto you, being somebody that had contact in a human form. So the effect is happening to you itself because you're actually also thinking a lot about him. So that calls them.
Like she's calling him because of her thoughts?
Right. That calls them on to, you know, to you. It's like a door.
If you have not heard the complete episode of Paranormal Activity with Mel, I suggest you get to it. Anyhow, I hope everybody has a safe and happy Halloween. This has been a special Halloween edition of Pod-O-ween. For more on Pod-O-ween, you can go right now to your app stores and download Pod-O-ween. We have our very own app. Follow us on social media. On Facebook, we're Pod-O-ween AJA. On Instagram, we're Pod-O-ween. If you are and have something important to share and you want to do it on the pod, you can email me at alex@ajacreativemedia.com. That's alex@ajacreativemedia.com. Until next time, don't fall off the pod.
Ready.